Well, unfortunately, things haven't been going too well for us here on the Waine Train at Plymouth Argyle. In the month of January, we still haven't picked up a win in the Premier League. Hopefully that changes second up today when we take on Fulham. But before then, Man City in the FA Cup. That could be difficult, but also, we could try and get rid of some sulky sooks on transfer deadline day. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 17 of the Waine Train here on Sean Does FM with Plymouth Argyle. I hope you're doing well and come up today. We take on Man City in the FA Cup. Fourth round that one at the Etihad, and off the back of that hopefully pick up our first win in the Premier League in the month of December, and it's against the opposition we last bet in the Premier League in Fulham, of course. Last time that was the game where Mike Cooper got injured celebrating a Ben Waine goal. Also, we might do a bit of business as well on transfer deadline day, so if you're looking forward to all that coming up in today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But off the back of yesterday's episode where we did take on Crystal Palace in the Premier League and also Blackburn in the third round of the FA Cup as well, is a significant transfer update thanks to those goalkeeping injuries. If you missed that one, I'll leave a link to it over in the top right corner. Just one game that we have played. It was away at Arsenal. We won't show you guys the highlights because there weren't any for us in this game. We got fresh 3-0. To be fair, we weren't that bad in this game, but unfortunately couldn't put the ball in the back of net, and Arsenal got off to a decent start through a Thomas Partey header. And then after half-time, they did grab a double through Gabriel Martinelli. Unfortunately, Aaron Ramsdale actually got injured in this game, but we didn't get enough shots on target when he was on the field to make the most of that. And then Carl Jakob Hein came on and was really, really good, which is a bit annoying considering what our backup goalkeepers did for us off the back of those injuries we picked up in that last Fulham game, going to those ones that we did play in yesterday's episode. But unfortunately, Arsenal got a much better backup than we have here at Plymouth Argyle, and they pick up in the end a pretty comfortable 3-0 win. So it does mean our form at the moment in the month of January has been pretty poor off the back of that 4-3 win over Fulham. To be fair though, we have taken on some pretty tough opposition in the Premier League, at least Chelsea, Man City, Arsenal, and we got that draw against Crystal Palace in between that win over Blackburn, which does set up that clash with Man City first up in today's episode. But it does mean we are slipping down the table just a little bit, albeit we do have a game in hand on Brentford, who are currently above us, but we're now down in 9th. But if we can win our next game, we will go above Man United and back into 7th spot, depending on what they do, because they also are on the same amount of games as we are here at Plymouth Argyle. So certainly still in the European race in the Premier League, but definitely want to turn this form around sooner rather than later. If we can do so, definitely think that Louis Jr., who came in during yesterday's episode, him still learning the language, is having a bit of an impact on our defence and just not playing as well, since we did suffer those injuries to both Mike Cooper and also Connor Hazard, albeit Connor Hazard is back these days, and also Mike Cooper might be back for that Fulham game. He's only 1 to 3 days away from recovering from that broken hand. It might mean he can make his way onto the bench for that one, might not be back in the first team until tomorrow's episode. That might be useful because he was in really good form until that injury in that Fulham game, which did come from celebrating a Ben Waine goal. So that was a little bit interesting. Also, Julio Plegazello, not too far away either, albeit he's just an extra squad player for us here at Plymouth Argyle. So hopefully today we can turn things around, and also something which might have contributed to our poor run of form in January. Off the back of that 3-0 loss over Arsenal, did go in and check on the dynamics. It's not here at the moment, but Bali Mumba, he wants to leave, so we're going to be doing that. He's now on the transfer list, albeit the only clubs interested in him are after loan, so we're going to have to try and do something interesting there and get a mandatory future fee in that. But Bali Mumba, he might be on the way out in today's episode. We might need a new squad player left back who can come in for Jacob Graves when he's not quite fit. And also, as you can see, Rafael Mamas, he says he's playing in a weak position and role, even though when we signed him on a pre-contract last year, he actually wanted to be playing as a defensive midfielder, as a balling midfielder, and that is exactly what we're doing with him. You can see it in the training as well. That's what he's doing, so that's a really weird one. Might be a beta bug, of course, because we started the save in early access, but still, that's annoying. But to be fair, he might not be around past this season anyway, because at the moment he's not getting enough minutes to get past his ESC. That's why we're going to start him in this first game of today's episode in the FA Cup alongside Nestori Urankunda, albeit he's in a much better position in terms of those minutes. And I think Sebastian Helsner, his one comes up quite shortly, but I'm pretty confident he will pass that and then get on to a usual work permit for the rest of his contract here at Plymouth Argyle. So that's the reason we're going to be rotating a little bit for this upcoming game, just making sure some of these players who do need the minutes will get them in the FA Cup. And also going into that Arsenal game, off the back of it, our players were upset because we needed more defensive midfield depth. Now, if you've heard this one before, that's because that's what they were saying coming towards the end of the summer transfer window when we, of course, signed Daniel Phillips. We've now got 5 defensive midfielders here at Plymouth Argyle, so I told them we're good, especially because we need the money to sign usual players off the back of that whole goalkeeping situation that we did have going into yesterday's episode. Thankfully, they did drop that concern, but that might be a reason that we did get spanked by Arsenal off the back of keeping it pretty close against them in the Premier League back at home park earlier this season, but still not too much of an unexpected result, but a little bit annoying that that's popping up yet again as an issue here at Plymouth Argyle. But hopefully now we've put that behind us, we can pick up a decent result first up in today's episode, but it is going to be tough as we take on Man City at the Etihad team who recently beat us 2-1 in the Premier League there, albeit that was when we had Agyacum in goal. So hopefully these days with Luis Junior in goal, we will be a little bit better for this game. And because we try and give those minutes to those ESC players, it does mean that Mamas comes in for Adam Randall in that ball-wing midfield role. Also, Urankunda will start at left wing. Callum Wright drops down to the bench. And as well as that, we have got Tom Bischoff starting over John Buckley, who is quite injury prone at the moment. It's just a couple of changes for us going into this 4th round clash in the FA Cup. It would be quite nice to get on a cup run this season, seeing as it feels like we should be pretty safe now in the Premier League for next season, albeit if we can get European football, that will probably take a front seat over the cup competitions. But to be fair, taking on Man City, it might not matter what we do here, we might still be in a bit of trouble, but hopefully we can put out a decent performance here. To be fair, they are in quite good form and second on the Premier League table, but it does look like they're rotating their team actually quite a bit for this game. No sign of Erling Haaland in particular. Julian Alvarez up front, to be fair, still a very good player, albeit I'm pretty sure this year on FM, his potential is not too good, at least compared to the rest of that Man City team. That might just be a curse of the fact he is on one of the strongest teams in the game. That potential might be quite significant for a club like us here at Plymouth Argyle. But first highlight, 7 minutes in, it is a throw-in to the home team. Now Chukwueze plays that one in for James McAtee, just given too much space there on the edge of the box. To be fair, we are tightly marking a lot of Man City players in this game. I don't think James McAtee is one of them. He puts that one away bottom left corner, and unfortunately it's a bad start for us here yet again at Plymouth Argyle. In the month of January, it's a well-worked routine there from that front, and they bury that one bottom left corner and grab an early 1-0 lead. So not a good start here. Maybe need to consider dropping back from our attacking mindset, but it was working so well in December up until those goalkeeping injuries. And now a good chance from another well-worked set piece there from City. They take that one short, find some good space there inside the box, but unfortunately for them, that one does come off the post. But early stages in this game, they are well and truly on the front foot. Also, we've picked up a couple of yellow cards to Bischoff and to Williams. So we've got Bischoff now easing off tackles. That unfortunately means that John Buckley will probably have to come on at half-time. Not ideal considering. We're going to try and give him a rest in this game as he is quite injury prone at the moment. Hopefully that's not something that is going to be an issue during the second half. But off the back of those early highlights from set piece to City, they do seem to have stopped a bit. As I say that, another free kick. They do take it short. They've also picked up a couple of yellow cards in this game so far. Also the Waine Train only on a 6.3, which is a bit disappointing. But now Man City, they will look for a second goal. Jack Grealish with a shot that does get blocked. It does go out there on the edge of the box, and that one clips the crossbar, albeit it might have actually come off Luis Junior because it is a corner for Man City. But so far, they're putting all the pressure on us in this first half. Grealish takes that corner. Thankfully, Williams will take that ball off of Kovacic, and he will try and link up there. I think that was with Urankunda, but unfortunately can't quite find him. But poor pass, now a chance for the Waine Train, who is one-on-one with the Man City goalkeeper, but somehow that one comes off both posts and doesn't find its way over the line. That was a huge chance for us there to do something on the counter-attack, but the Waine Train, he misses his chance, and that does mean It is going to be 1-0 Man City going to halftime. To be fair, that scoreline could be a lot more in favour of the home team here. So I think we'll take that, but quite a few players out there on yellow cards and pretty poor ratings. So we might actually make all 5 subs here at halftime. First up, Ethan Laird can come on for Kane Kesler-Hayden. Also, we'll bring on Sebastian Hausner for Reece Williams and John Buckley for Tom Bischoff. That's all the yellow carded players, but also Facundo Farias on a 6.3 and also Ben Waine a 6.2. So good Johnson up front and Nikola Iliev in the cam role. So that's going to be all 5 of our subs used here at halftime, which is a fair bit of a risk. We'll also just make sure that we are going to get Ethan Laird to make sure he's not easing off tackles in the second half, and the same for John Buckley. So quite a few changes here at halftime. Hopefully just wakes our guys up, albeit to be fair, we definitely aren't in too bad of a position considering how on the front foot Man City have been in this game, albeit had that big chance there through the Waine Train to make it 1-1 going in to the second half. But we're going to go into the second half with a lot of fresh legs. Hopefully that will make a difference and we can get something back here in this game and try and take it potentially to extra time, albeit I actually think it goes to a replay in the FA Cup, and that might not be that suitable. Extra football with our race for European football currently in the Premier League, but coming up to the hour mark now and still not doing a lot in this game. So because of that, we'll just chuck Jacob Greaves here onto attack and also Morgan Whittaker onto attack as we did late in that Crystal Palace game yesterday. That does seem to work sometimes when we are struggling. It's not always the case, as we saw last week with that 6-1 win over Liverpool. We didn't need to do that, but off the back of that, unfortunately, a corner here for Man City. They try and put that one into the mix. Mateus Nunes with a shot. It falls very kindly off a block for McAtee, who looks for a double, but thankfully that one did come off the post, and also apparently there was an offside in amongst that, albeit now Luis Jr. takes the free kick. It's an awful one, and Man City are back on the ball. Jacob Graves nearly wins that one back for us, but thankfully Aaron Kunda eventually does, and a chance for us here to build from the back, albeit that's another iffy pass there. It's very scratchy at the back, and then thankfully we eventually get this out to Laird, who's a bit more calm on the ball, so a bit iffy there from us at the back, as I said before. Maybe that's Louis Jr. not quite knowing English yet. I do think that's a big thing in FM, so hopefully Mike Cooper will be back sooner rather than later, and then Louis Jr., who makes a decent save there, he'll be ready to start next year once he's finished his English course. I think that's a good move from us here at Plymouth Argyle off the back of that goalkeeping situation that we did have coming in to yesterday's episode. But now we'll chuck Rafael Lamas onto a balling midfielder on support because we need a bit more go forward here, and also tell our guys to go a bit wider in terms of attack and see if that does anything in the last 10 or so minutes of this one. But yet again, Man City, they are on the ball. Lewis plays that one for Ruben Diaz. Now to young Couto. Mateus Nunes just inside the box. They're looking here for a goal that would seal this one. McAtee does get a shot off yet again, looking for a double, but thankfully we blocked that one. Still 1-0 to Man City. They definitely deserve an extra goal in this game, but thankfully we're defending quite well. But for some reason there we have a throw-in, and Jacob Graves just gives it straight back to City. Maybe that's off the back of that injury to Serge Gnabry. He's still on the field. Maybe we were just giving him some time there to recover, and they put the ball out, so we had to give it back to them. Otherwise, that's annoying, giving them the ball straight back from a throw. But Doku tries to play this one left-hand side. Thankfully, Graves makes up for that throw. He finds Aaron Kunda. Nice ball forward here for Nikola Iliev. Off of the bench, he beats Ortega. His 4th goal of the season off the back of that will encourage our guys. And also, we might just tell them to focus down the left, considering that Serge Gnabry is on that orange injury. That could be something that does work in this one. Just hoping that that might be an injury that affects their play down their right-hand side, our left. But thankfully, Jacob Graves intercepts that ball. Aaron Kunda with a turn and a really nice ball forward there to Iliev, who gets in behind the City defence. Ortega given no chance with that finish into the top right corner, and we make it 1-1. And maybe that's a goal that will see us go to a replay of this 4th round tie in the FA Cup, albeit right off the back of that, it is a throw into City, and they're keeping the ball quite well despite the fact we're trying to put a good press on them. And now Doku finds some space down that left-hand side. McAtee, he'll try and put that one into the mixer. It takes a deflection off of John Buckley. That's a really unfortunate goal to concede, especially off the back of making it 1-1 through Nikola Iliev. But they're back in front here, Man City, and to be fair, based on their overall play, they probably deserve it. But somehow that threads a needle off that touch from John Buckley. It's an own goal, and now we need to get a goal back here. Otherwise, we are going to be out of the FA Cup again early this season, albeit gone one round further than we did last year when we somehow lost to Bradford City. But just checking here on some potential instructions that we could do to try and turn this around. We might tell our guys to stop focusing down the left because I don't know if that's been working too well based on the stats that have been happening off the back of that change. Don't think things have changed too much since that, but unfortunately that own goal is going to prove costly. That's a bit of a gutting way to go out of the FA Cup because to be fair, stats-wise, actually that game in the end wasn't too lopsided in Man City's favour, but they do have the higher XG, and also they did keep the ball a lot better possession-wise, 66% I believe that was, but unfortunately we are out of the FA Cup. We'll tell the guys, but unlucky in that one because of the own goal that did see us eventually get knocked out. We fought well yet again, but unfortunately in the month of January it's another 2-1 defeat at the Etihad, and we are out of the FA Cup off the back of a 2-1 defeat to Man City. Nice to see that Alex there has a good attitude, especially compared to Troy. Just chill out, Troy. It was Man City in the Cup. We were very unlikely to win that game. Just chill. But we're out of the FA Cup. We'll come back shortly and take on Fulham in the Premier League. Hopefully a much more winnable game. So unfortunately another loss for us there in the month of January, but our best chance now to turn things around if we do take on a Fulham team that we did beat back in December at Craven Cottage. That was amongst our really good run of form that we did have before Mike Cooper picked up that injury in the game, and then things went pear-shaped off the back of that, but that was an absolute classic at Craven Cottage. Coming back to home park here, hopefully we can produce a similar performance and pick up 3 points for the first time since that game, around about a month since we've last tasted victory in the Premier League. And also we do have someone coming back from injury for the second game of today's episode, albeit it's only via the bench, and that is Mike Cooper. He comes in for Connor Hazard on the subs, but otherwise we're back to our best 11 for the second game of today's episode. Louis Jr. can keep that starting spot for now, albeit once Mike Cooper is just a little bit less injury prone, a bit more fit coming back from that injury, he'll probably take his place back in that team, seeing as he is our first choice goalkeeper. But this season, then next season, he drops down to being a cup goalkeeper. Louis Jr. will step up, as I said, with that language barrier. That might be a good time for him to take over as the first choice here at Plymouth Argyle. But this definitely does look like one of our more winnable games in the month of January, apart from that one yesterday where we took on Crystal Palace and somehow only picked up a 2-2 draw. Hopefully this time we can get the job done and maybe put ourselves back inside that top 7 for an automatic spot in Europe for next season. But there we are, just that one win of late. That was in the third round of the FA Cup against Blackburn, but since then we have been taking on some pretty good teams. That's the other thing to consider with our poor form at the moment. We are playing some pretty big guns, Man City a couple of times, also Chelsea and Arsenal, so certainly not easy games here for us at Plymouth Argyle, but this is a chance in front of our home park faithful to get back on track, and also with a few more first team regulars back in the starting lineup, seeing as we can now just see what happens with those guys on an ESC. Also worth noting, Sebastian Helsner, no longer the case with him. He's been sorted out off the back of being at the club for a year. He's played enough minutes, so he's all sorted with a work permit for the rest of his contract. But thankfully on the attack here, nice and early, Kane Kesler-Hayden finds Callum Wright, just loses position there briefly off the back of a tackle from Andreas, but fizzes that one into Facundo Farias. He picks up a goal so far today. It's our central attacking midfielders who are scoring the goals, and that's exactly the start we want in this game. Might be in for another goal crazy classic like we were the last time we took on Fulham, but we take a nice early 1-0 lead here at home park. Quite similar start to when we last played these guys. Hopefully we can kick on this time and not concede quite so many with a decent goalkeeper in between the sticks, but 1-0 up nice and early, albeit off the back of that Lewis Gibson. He does pick up a yellow card, but now hoping that we can hold on to the scoreline and pick up, I think, a much needed 3 points in the Premier League. Otherwise, things could get a little bit iffy for us for a little while, and it might just be a mid-table season for us here at Plymouth Argyle. Now, Ben Waine's picked up a yellow card shortly off the back of that one to Lewis Gibson, and now also Jacob Graves. Now, apparently Louis Jr. pulled wrist ligaments. Apparently he can make his way through the rest of the match. That is good. I don't know what it is about Fulham, but they do tend to injure our goalkeepers, even though they've had no shots. The second time that's happened this season, but thankfully that one not too serious to Louis Jr. Maybe he got bored at the goalkeeping end and was doing something that he shouldn't be in public here in England, but nonetheless, we're back on the attack here and hopefully a chance for us to make it 2-0. Buckley plays that one back out to Callum Wright. Morgan Whittaker at the far post. He can put those one away, but unfortunately, Burnt Leno that time might have got a slight touch on it. It comes off the crossbar, and it is still 1-0, but so far, definitely the team on the front foot in this game. Now, Kesler Hayden down to a deep red heart. We'll just save that till half-time, and that might be the time to bring on Ethan Lee again for him. Might be in here with quite a few subs at half-time, especially now, because Morgan Whittaker went down to a red heart late in that first half. So a couple of injury concerns, but thankfully, even though we just got one shot on target, it was a goal. And now we'll make some changes. Ben Waine on a yellow card. Good Johnson can come on for him. Also, Jacob Graves on a yellow card. Ethan led for him, albeit that Kesler Hayden situation, we might need to change our plans with that. But Sebastian Hausner will come on for Lewis Gibson. But I think Ethan Laird might actually come on for Kane Kesler Hayden. And Jacob Graves might have to stay on the field with that yellow card, hopefully, even though he's going to be easing off tackles. That's not going to be too big of a problem for us in the second half, as we'll just adjust some of these players who were previously on those yellow cards and get stuck into the second half so far. Definitely the team who have been on the front foot, forced into a couple of changes here at halftime, but hopefully our defence will still be nice and solid, and we can pick up 3 points for the first time in around about a month against the Fulham team, who are going with a 4-3-3, and for some reason there, Jacob Graves is at right back. We'll just change that early stages of the second half, thankfully. Picked that up nice and early before a highlight did start, but so far not much happening here in the second half, albeit Fulham are getting a few more shots off, but now Morgan Whittaker, as expected, is down to a deep red heart, considering he was on one before he did go into the sheds. For half-time, Ian Pavada can come on for him, so it does mean lots of our subs have been used already, and right off the back of that, it is a corner to Fulham, and Issa Diop gets on the end of that cross from Andreas Pereira and puts it away. So often in this year's game, you make a change and a team scores right off the back of it, and that's what's happened there. It's a set piece, and unfortunately, it's 1-1 here at home park, and it just feels like we're struggling to get over the line a little bit in the month of January, and off the back of that, a couple of players are down to red hearts. Of course, no more defensive backups for Jacob Graves, so it does mean that John Buckley's a player who will be coming off, and that will be for Tom Bischoff. Also might just get here Jacob Graves, not to ease off tackles. Hopefully that doesn't prove too costly, but might just mean we're a bit more solid defensively. Not too sure if that had an impact on that corner that we did just concede, but still, that might be a good idea considering no more subs to make, and just make sure that we can hopefully hold on and pick up something from this game, because so far haven't picked up too many points in the month of January at all. But coming up, the last 20 minutes of this game now, it's actually quite even in terms of stats. We're just getting back ahead slightly yet again, and it might be time for us soon here to chuck some players onto some more positive duties. I think what we might do here is just chuck Jacob Graves onto support for now and see if that helps. That might be something that's a bit more balanced instead of putting everyone onto attack like we have previously, putting the wing back onto support and the winger onto attack down the left-hand side, and have it be the other way around on the right-hand side. But off the back of that, there is a throw-in, and it is to Fulham, making our way into the last 15 minutes of this game yet again. It's a close one against the guys from Craven Cottage, but Andreas is on the ball off the back of getting that assist from that previous corner. They go back to Burnt Leno in goal. He plays that one forward. It's a long ball. Thankfully, Hausner will win that one, but then Adama Traore thankfully heads that one forward into the path of Jacob Graves, and a chance for us here to potentially do something with the ball and hopefully grab a winning goal. Now, Randall to Pavada for some reason doesn't look for Ethan Laird outright, who was in a ton of space, takes on the shot from outside the box and misses the target by a fair way. So unfortunately still 1-1. Feels like now stats-wise starting to go on the front foot a little bit more, but it's late in this game. We'll chuck Jacob Graves onto attack, and also Ian Pavada. That did work in that Spurs game before we did go into an attacking mindset before that one at the end of last week, and also we'll chuck Adam Randall onto support as well, but unfortunately no highlights late in this game. We make our way into 5 minutes of added time, but it looks like it's more drop points for us at home park. So unfortunately January, a pretty bad month for us here at Plymouth Argyle, a bit surprising off the back of how well we did in December with results like a 6-1 win over Liverpool, but thankfully it's not a loss. But annoyingly, we can see from a corner, and that cancels out that early goal to Facundo Farias. It's more drop points at home. It's 1-1 here against Fulham in the Premier League. We'll just go ahead and see what that does for the table before we get stuck in to transfer deadline day. We jump up above Brentford with our goal differential, but unfortunately still a couple of points behind Man United, who now have a game in hand, but we'll come back shortly and see if anything happens on transfer deadline day, especially involving Ballymumba. So unfortunately couldn't quite get the job done there against Fulham in that second game of today's episode, but at least we do pick up a point to keep us in 8th on the Premier League table. And next up for us, we take on Brentford. That could be quite a big game, but as you can see, Ballymumba these days no longer a Plymouth Argyle player. He is on loan at Norwich, and that is with a mandatory future fee. So we did get rid of him on transfer deadline day, that mandatory future fee, 4.9 million, unfortunately. Not a bad player for us at all. Very good for us in the Championship last season, but was sulking about his lack of game time in the Premier League and the Cup competitions this season, partly because early stages Ryan Fredericks was on the bench over him, and also Ethan Laird when he came into the team as the replacement for Mami Toure, had better attributes and could cover both sides. So Ballymumba got fed up with things. We let him go, but it's a loan that will turn into a transfer come the start of next season. It does mean that transfer budget for next season will get bumped up pretty early on by £4.9 million, but obviously that did mean we had to go and find a new left back here at Plymouth Argyle. And Ben's got a friend, ladies and gentlemen. We have signed a fellow New Zealander, Liberato Cacace. Now, I'll be fair here. I thought his potential was a lot higher, but with the money that we had, just over £1.5 million in our transfer budget, this was the best option available. There was another guy from Germany, but he wanted a pretty big wage and to be a star player, and we couldn't give him that. But £1.5 million overall, not all of that was up front, but Liberato Cacace, he joins Ben Waine. We've got all the ex-A-League players here now in Nesteri and the Waine Train, but Ben's got a good friend, a fellow New Zealander, also formerly of the Wellington Phoenix. Spent a brief time at St. Schluden before joining Empoli, and now he gets a chance to strut his stuff in the Premier League, albeit definitely won't be starting ahead of Jacob Graves, but still might feature a little bit throughout the rest of the season here at Plymouth Argyle, albeit now that we're out of the FA Cup, he might not get quite the same amount of game time as he would have otherwise gotten. But Liberato Cacace, he joins us here at Plymouth Argyle as our new backup left back, and to be fair, with better attributes for that role than Ballymumba, that's not a bad bit of business, getting 4.9 million for Ballymumba and only spending 1.5 million on the 24-year-old New Zealander. Also worth noting, he is now on an ESC, apparently having 28 caps for the All Whites. Not good enough for a work permit, so it might be interesting to see how Libby does get on this time next year when that ESC does expire, but we'll see how he gets on in his first year here at Plymouth Argyle, and might need to make a tough decision off the back of that. But Liberato Cacace, the new signing here at Plymouth Argyle, to replace Ballymumba, and thankfully that does mean our dynamics now here at the club have improved quite a bit, albeit Rafael Mamas still sulking a little bit, but hopefully he gets over that soon, considering we're playing him exactly where he wants. But that will do it for today's episode. Unfortunately, a couple more rough results in the month of January, but thankfully still not that far away from European football in the Premier League, but we are unfortunately out of the FA Cup. If you enjoyed today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also consider hitting that subscribe button and turning that notification bell on as well. Now, coming up in the month of February, actually some pretty winnable games for us, and considering the run of form that we have been in since that first Fulham game back in late December, they might be games where we can get back on track here at Plymouth Argyle. First up, actually a big one against Brentford, but we'll skip over that one because it's a bit short off the back of transfer deadline day. But then 3 games against teams who we should really be beating, considering their table positions in the Premier League. We take on Bournemouth, albeit they're on a bit of a resurgence under Argentinian World Cup winning manager Lionel Scaloni these days. But I'd like to think that's a game where you can win, and we might come back in late February. We'll take on bottom of the league Sheffield United at home. Surely that's a game that we can win, and off the back of that, we'll also take on Nottingham Forest, that one away from home, but those guys just outside of the relegation zones. 2 big chances for us there to get back on track in tomorrow's episode if we can't do it sooner, before things get a bit tougher for us throughout the rest of the season, and we'll cover that off in the 2 more episodes to end this week off the back of that, and hopefully we can sneak our way into European football for our second season in the top 1. Also, now that we are out of the FA Cup, we do have some nice week-long gaps off the back of this upcoming Brentford game, so that's something which would also help us out for the remainder of the season, but we'll come back tomorrow and take on a couple of strugglers in Sheffield United and Nottingham Forest. Hopefully a chance for us there to pick up some points and maybe get back into one of those European qualifying spots. So until then, thank you very much for watching, keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.